Hey everyone, this is Jenny with Rios Hay. I just wanted to let you know we're giving it just a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. We're having a little technical difficulties. We're getting there. Hi everyone, I am Jenny Rios with Rios Hay and I am happy to had a few technical difficulties. We're all getting used to doing things out of our house. But I am happy to be here with you and Synergistic Horsemanship. Thank you so much for including me this evening. As I stated, I am Jenny with Rios Ranch out of Smith, Nevada, and we are hay growers and hay providers. And I am here to answer your questions. And it looks like I have a question on the screen now. And the question says, hey Jenny, when did you start your hay business? That's kind of a funny story. We started our hay business a few years ago. It wasn't necessarily part of our plan, but God took us down this path and we are really happy to be here. We grow hay and we found that we had a lot of neighbors that wanted to put more focus on their farming and less focus on the retail side of hay growing and hay sales, and so we decided to take that on. So we grow some of the hay that we sell, but we also sell a lot of hay grown by our neighbors out here in Smith Valley. Anybody have another question? If you do, you can post it right into the comment section and I will try to take all the questions in order. Thank you, Kristen. If you have any questions, feel free to just put them right in the comment section. I think some of you might know my husband, Art. I think that a couple of our customers logged in. Some of you probably haven't seen me in person or in a video, just talk to me over the phone. So, hi everyone. Let's see, I don't see any other questions right now, but maybe we can just talk a little bit about what it's like to be a hay farmer. So it's fun, it's rewarding, it is challenging all at the same time. For example, every year you're kind of dependent upon Mother Nature. So this year we are watching water very closely. We will probably irrigate one less time than we would prefer to do. Maybe 2 less times than we would prefer to do. But that is because the snowpack isn't what it was for sure last year. And it is less than what we would normally prefer to see. So both the snowpack, which then affects water rights and storage water. So this year it's going to be a little tight. But we are, for our field, we are growing some really nice alfalfa, and we are excited because it looks like it's going to turn out quite well this year. Let's see. I do see a question. It says, can you tell us what we look for when we are buying hay? That's a good question. So we do grow our own hay, but we also, as I mentioned, sell the hay of a lot of growers out here in Smith Valley and a few other growers, one in Yerington and a couple in the Colville area. So what we like to do is we actually like to see the hay in the field. We like to get to know our growers, so then we can kind of have a feel for their practices and their standards. So for example, we will go out and walk our fields. For our neighbor growers, we will do the same thing. We really like to see what the hay looks like in the field, because that can give you somewhat of an idea of the product that you will see once the hay is put up. So you can see about weeds and other pest management practices that the grower has. Out here we have some really, really good growers, so we're thankful for that. We do not like to, or we don't typically purchase hay that we haven't actually seen. Sometimes we don't get to see it in the field, but we will always go look at the hay prior to purchasing it and providing it to our customers. Any other questions for me? If you do have any questions about our business or about purchasing hay or growing hay, feel free to put it in the chat section. I will not say that I am the all-knowing when it comes to hay. I feel like it's something that you are just learning and learning and learning. But I'm happy to share with you what I do know. So another question says, can you tell us more about weed-free hay? Yes, I can. So certain hay fields are actually inspected, and they're inspected by the Department of Agriculture, and they are looking for a specific list of plants or noxious weeds. And if they inspect the field and they determine that the field does not contain any of those weeds, then the grower is allowed a certificate that allows them to use a special twine when baling the hay that indicates that the hay is a certified weed-free hay. Now, this does not mean that the field has no weeds in it. The inspection is for a set list of weeds. It is a nice indicator of a quality hay grower. But there's that possibly don't have the certified twine on their bale. But it is one nice indicator, and it is necessary if you're somebody who likes to do horse camping and things like that, because you cannot take hay that is not certified into the national park system. Let's see, I have another question. How do you change your daily business with the seasons? Summer obviously is cutting. but with the winter, what goes on with the business? That is a great question. So our business is kind of a two-part business because we have our hay fields and our hay growing operation, and then we have our retail hay delivery business. The busy time of year is upon us. It's starting up now. We've actually already irrigated one time, and then, you can thank us for the rain because we irrigated and then it rained. So hay growing is one part of the business, and the other part is the retail side of things. What we are doing during hay growing season is, of course, maintaining our hay operation, but also planning for winter, because what we try to do is always plan for our customers for the entire year. So that means locating barn space because we don't have enough of our own to carry everybody through winter. Monitoring the fields of the growers that we're going to work with and making sure that the hay that they put up is going to be of our standard, which generally it is. And then putting that hay into barns to be ready so that during the winter we have hay for all of our customers. Throughout the whole growing season, we continue with the retail hay delivery business, so that's a whole nother operation in ensuring that everybody has quality hay all year. During the winter, of course, we have additional challenges dealing with snow, water, and that type of thing. So we're also continuously monitoring our barns to make sure we don't have any leaks. There's another video where I believe you might have seen where we were looking at a hay barn and talking about hay storage. It's not just put it in the barn and leave it. You have to make sure that water is not coming in because of maybe how the ground has been leveled, and there's a whole nother process to that as well. So for us, it's an all year thing. I hope that helps, Erin. Let's see, I'm trying to see. Oh, and the next question is what advice do you have for storing hay? So that led right into this. So obviously, everybody's dream is a huge hay barn full of hay. That's our dream as well. And that's what we try to do throughout the growing season is stock the barns full of hay. But once it's in there, you still have to pay attention. In fact, usually we put a layer of plastic down at the bottom just to ensure that no moisture comes in and gets our bottom bales. You will still, if you were here at our property, you would see that we have stacks of bottoms that we've lost that we just set aside for cow hay for our cows. During spring and summer, you can generally just stack hay in a stack yard and it will be fine out there. Another option, of course, is for people who do not have a hay barn is putting your hay on pallets and tarping it. You just want to make sure that it's well tarped and you've got a thick tarp, because otherwise the wind around here will just tear your tarp and you'll have wet hay anyway. So obviously barn is preferred, but there are definitely options. We have lots of customers that have pallets and tarp their palleted hay. And everything still works out fine for them. All right, any other questions for me? Just waiting for questions. So let's see, I see, what is the most common question you get about your hay business? Well, usually new customers, the first question is, what kind of hay do we have? Right now we have alfalfa, we have 2 options for grass, and we have grass alfalfa mix. Due to the kind of hard times that we're all starting to go through, we have decided to carry some lesser quality hay, so it's still definitely horse hay, but we call it a number 2. So for our alfalfa, we have our top of the line alfalfa and a number 2 quality. And then we did the same for meadow grass. We have the top of the line and a number 2, and we did that for mix as well. And then we also carry orchard grass. So that's usually the first question people ask, and then how much does it cost to get it delivered? We charge anywhere from $20 to $25 to deliver, just depending on where you're located. We stack for free as long as it's in a reasonable area for stacking. Sometimes, if we have to park 30 feet away or 50 feet away from the area that you want your hay stacked, we're not probably going to be able to do that. Another question says, if stored properly, how long does hay retain its nutritional value? That's really going to depend on the hay storage. You can have barn stored hay that's very well barn stored that will hold its nutritional value. There's a lot of people that feel comfortable with even a year and a half or longer. But if you have it in a stack sitting outside, even if it's tarped, it's going to degrade faster than if it is in an enclosed barn, free, away from sun, etc. So I guess one thing I would like to say about that is a lot of our growers provide us with hay tests when we purchase their hay. However, if we feel that maybe the hay was on the outer edge of a barn, or if it was a grower that did not test their hay, we won't test the hay until we're going to use it. So if we're stacking a barn full of hay and the grower hasn't tested the hay, we won't normally test the hay when we put it in the barn. We will test the hay when we're getting ready to take it out. That way we'll have a current sample of the hay. Let's see, I do see another question. What's the difference between cow and horse hay? Well, that's a little bit of a trickier question, only because even with cows, you have different quality of hay depending on what you're doing with the cow. For example, dairy hay is going to be a higher test, so your numbers are going to be high, your TDN or total digestible nutrients are going to be higher, your protein will be higher, but that's dairy cow hay. And then there is what people just call cow hay, which is kind of like a stock hay, which is usually a lower quality hay. than horse hay. And that's because cows digest their food differently than horses, so they can usually handle a lower quality hay and still be okay. Let's see, just scanning here so I can see if there's another question. Sorry, I'm checking on my phone because it seems like sometimes the questions aren't coming through, but they're coming through when I'm logged in on my phone. Technical, choice of technical difficulties. I don't see another question. Anybody have any questions for me? Just post them into the chat and I will try to get them to you. Any hay questions, hay growing questions? Maybe we should talk about let's talk about what we've done so far this year to have our fields turn out. So the first thing we did is we took a soil sample. So we actually have 3 main fields that we work out of, and we took a soil sample out of each of the 3 fields and had that analyzed so we could determine what nutrients and micronutrients would be beneficial for the plants growing in the field or the alfalfa. And once we did that, we actually had somebody custom blend fertilizers for each of the 3 fields so that we could hopefully have optimal success and provide quality alfalfa for our customers. And then after that, of course, we're always monitoring water and looking for bugs. In fact, right now, every single day I've been going out and looking at the alfalfa stand in different areas to see if there are any bugs, because there are some growers out here in the valley that are seeing aphids already, and aphids can come in and pretty much eat all of your alfalfa really fast. So we're checking on a daily basis. Actually, you go out there, you get on your hands and knees, and you take a look in different areas. Fortunately, we have a new stand of alfalfa, and the aphids seem to like older stands better. So far, we have been very lucky. But we are monitoring that very closely because we do see also a lot of ladybugs, which is another indicator. They're not on our fields right now, but we have seen in other fields a lot of ladybugs, which is an indicator, which is a good thing because they eat those pests. And I'm just continuing, sorry, trying to look at questions. Let's see. So we tested our soil to look and see what nutrients it might be deficient. We're monitoring water. Right now we're monitoring for any pests. We're also walking our fields to look and see if there's any weeds that are coming up, so that we can make any decisions we need to make about that. We do try to avoid pesticides when possible, but we do have some land that's certified in organic, but we're not actually growing hay on that this year. The other part of our fields, if we had to do something, we would. But right now, we have a very healthy stand and everything's looking great. We would always try to utilize non-pesticide methods first, like burning and things like that, which is what we did with our ditches this year, and so far things are going great. What's my favorite part of growing hay? My favorite part of growing hay is actually irrigation. So watering the fields, although my husband thinks I'm crazy because that's his least favorite part. And I would say 2 out of the 3 fields are my favorites because one is really hard to irrigate, and I don't like that one as much because our ditches and our everything aren't set up quite as well over there. But I love being out there, listening to the water. It can be, it's still a challenge. We flood irrigate, so all of our water comes down a ditch. You have to measure and make sure that you're only taking the amount of water that you have the right to take. And then you set everything up and you try to make it go evenly down the field. And just a little before it gets to the end, you switch to the next land and you continue forward, and you do that 24/7 until you make it through your entire set of fields and somebody else takes the water. So that's my favorite, and I think hopefully we'll get through this whole hard time that we're going through, and or if not, maybe I know Kristen, you guys were going to come out and record irrigation, but maybe I can record it and send it to you so you can see what that looks like. Let's see. The next question says, where do you deliver to? We deliver just about anywhere within a 200 mile radius of our farm. So that's starting in Smith and 200 miles around. So we do, from here, we do, of course, Garnerville, Minden, Carson, Reno, all the way up to Red Rock. We do Cold Springs, Lemon Valley, Golden Valley. We do Sparks, Palomino Valley, all the way to right by Pyramid Lake even, Fernley, Fallon, Hawthorne, I think I said Carson, Mound House, Dayton, Silver Springs, Yerington. So anywhere within a 200-mile radius. Let's see, the next question says, can I explain how the quality of hay changes? I hear about first cutting being different than others. That is such an excellent question, Erin. Well, let's start by saying that different kinds of hay also are going to have different answers to that question. So let's start with alfalfa. And everybody pretty much has the opinion that second crop or second cutting alfalfa is your horse hay. And for the most part, that is the case. That is hay, especially alfalfa. Second crop will always be a lower test, therefore that's generally horse quality. However, that doesn't mean first or third or fourth is not okay for horses. In fact, a lot of growers will try to grow first crop for dairy test. They'll cut it early, therefore it'll test higher and be dairy. Hay. Second and third for horses, and then fourth for dairy again. And of course, every year is going to be different. And I'm talking about Nevada hay, not other states which get a different number of cuttings. This year, things might be a little different, and you might see a different business model or a different business plan some growers may take. And the reason I say this is if you've been watching the news, you know that dairies are being hit really hard right now. In fact, they're having to dump milk, and I'm not going to get into the politics and everything that's going on with that, but it is a really hard time for them right now. We don't know what's going to happen with, are they going to keep their cows? What is dairy hay going to be worth? And I am thinking you might see some growers even push first crop out. So rather than cutting it early, letting it grow longer so that it will be a low test, and then first crop would even be okay for horses. And of course, the most important thing is looking at the hay test. Now, grass is going to be different. And grass, first crop is generally fine for horses, although, again, we always want to look at our hay test. We also want to know what the grower did with that field and how they got ready for first crop. And the reason I say that is because a lot of growers do something called stubble grazing. And that means they will let cattle graze the fields, which is actually good for the fields. And they'll do that during some of the winter or fall and winter months. And it's important that those growers, after the cattle are taken off the fields, that those growers actually drag those fields so that there's no big clumps of manure. And you have to do that at a certain time. You need a little bit of moisture in order to do that. And then they can drag that out so that the first crop of the grass hay will still turn out fairly nice. And then it's also about opinion. Grass has little flowers or seed pods. Some people love those and they want that only, and other people don't like that. And some horses love it and some don't. Part of that has to do with the sugar content in the hay. You know, horses are kind of like me, we like sweet stuff. So if the hay is a lower sugar content, they might turn their noses at it at first. But some people actually have horses that need a lower sugar content. So again, the hay test is so important. Erin, I hope that helped. Any other questions for me? Another thing I could think of to talk about regarding different cuttings of hay is, for example, third crop alfalfa tends to be one of the finer stem cuttings. So if it is grown for horse quality, a lot of people with older horses would prefer third. In fact, we have some hay customers that they'll wait until third crop alfalfa for some of their horses. And again, other people don't feed alfalfa, so again, hay tests are extremely important. And knowing your horse, having a good relationship with your veterinarian, explaining to them what you do with your horse. Is your horse pretty much out standing in a pasture all day? Are you riding many hours quite often? All of that goes into what your veterinarian is going to help you pick for the best feed for your animal. And of course, we have a lot of customers that are also feeding goats. We have customers that wait until we have grain hay because they like to have that for even their chickens. So we try to serve everybody's needs. Any more questions for me? I'm sorry, I'm checking my phone because I'm seeing questions on my phone too. Let's see, I see a question, why do hay prices fluctuate? I think I sort of started talking about that when I was talking about our dairies. Hay is a commodity, just like milk, eggs, other commodities. So the market really is one of the things that determine hay price. I know that a lot of people think that you throw some seeds out and you put some water on it and everything will be fine and you'll have hay. Unfortunately, that is not how it works at all. I kind of mentioned just in our costs this year. So those soil samples that we took, that we turned in, I think each test was around $100 or $120. Then we had to put fertilizer. We don't have the equipment to have that fertilizer put on, so we paid somebody to do that. I want to say that was $6,000 or $7,000 with just fertilizer and putting on the fertilizer. You have costs of running equipment, fuel costs, people costs. So unfortunately, growing hay here at least doesn't work quite as well as just throwing out some seeds and watering it. We've had some really bad luck with growing hay. In fact, we planted 80 acres of alfalfa and didn't get anything. And that can happen. And so what do? You cry for a few minutes and then you get up and you try again. And that's farming, right? You're dealing with Mother Nature. It's kind of a combination of Mother Nature. It's lots of praying. It's God, and just everything has to line up perfectly, actually, to get good hay. Number of bales that you can order. If you're picking up at the farm, you can pick up 1 bale. You just have to make sure that we're here when you want to come out, because our main business is delivering hay. So oftentimes we are not here during the day. For delivery, our minimum order is 6 bales, and we prefer orders to be in even numbers. So like starting with 6, then 8, 10, 12. And the reason is we load with something called a grapple or a farmhand, and it takes at least 2 at a time. With one, it's not even, and so typically that if you order like 15, we will ask you if you would take 14 or 16, just because otherwise that one odd bale has to be loaded by hand. And if you've ever seen us when we start really high on the truck and trailer, and that can be really challenging. So that